So I'll be honest, when this movie first started, I wasn't too sure about it, but as it was progressing, it literally did get bigger and better, and then it had a massive crescendo finale at the end, which was just absolutely incredible. What is up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel, Lifestyle Critic. I hope you're having a brilliant day. So in this video, we are going to be reviewing the brand new movie called Beast, which is a survival thriller movie, and it has got a bit of a somewhat slow start. I was really scratching my head and being like, what on earth is this? But then, when it got to the second act of this movie, it literally just got absolutely brilliant and super nail-biting and true edge-of-your-seat viewing. I was literally glued to the screen. And the cinematography in this movie is just second to none. The fact that they were able to film so much stuff in a single take, it was just so good. And it literally did make it feel like a very different thriller movie to anything that you've seen before. And I cannot wait to break it down for you in this movie review. So this film centers around a recently widowed husband who goes back to South Africa with his daughters to reminisce about where he first ever met his wife. Things then take a very sudden turn when a ferocious man-eating wild lion will kill and hunt anything in its way, which literally is really jaw-dropping. Now, from a positive point of view, I absolutely love the survival thriller aspects of this movie. I feel like its structure is really clever, actually. As in the first act, they're really setting the scene, really setting everything up. And in the second act, things really do take a survival aspect in terms of being really quiet, trying to hide in the shadows, and just having this lion just beast out on so many different characters. And then in the final act, it really is man versus lion, which is just so gripping. And it's so terrifyingly realistic, as it isn't really over the top. It's got a really simplistic and straightforward premise, and they execute this really well. And as a result, because it's not too far-fetched or anything like that, you really do have a chill down your spine, as it literally could happen to anyone, and you're really with all of these characters and the terrifying situations that they're in. From the second act onwards as well, it's really intense. You really can feel the predator-prey aspects of this movie as well. And it's also really believable in the decisions that the different characters make, how they react to certain different scenarios, and what happens when other humans are entering into this space as well. And like I said, the cinematography in this film is so good. I mean, the premise could have made it look really unrealistic, but it looks really wicked, and you're really with all of the different characters throughout this movie. However, from a negative point of view, they could have made a much stronger first act of this movie, as you're not really that connected with all of the different characters. But suddenly, when they're thrust into madness and this true survival scenario, then you really do feel like you're with them, and you do kind of feel like you know them as well. But I do feel like they could have made the first act a little bit quicker in terms of making it a lot more pacier and just setting the scene in a way that you really connect with the different characters. But like I said, as the movie progresses, this definitely improves. I was going back and forth quite a lot in terms of the runtime of this movie, as it is a really solid 90-minute movie, and I was thinking, is that perfect? Or would it have benefited from being longer? But actually, my conclusion now is that it's a really great length, because it's really adrenaline fueled. You really get through everything from the second act onwards, and it really does keep you on the edge of your seat in a really good way. And so from a storyline perspective, I have to say Beast is really brilliant. So from a casting characters point of view, as you can imagine, it's got a very focused and small group of characters in this movie, which does make it really effective. As like I said, you're really with all of them in this survival thriller movie. So let's go through them one by one. So first up, of course, we have Idris Elba, who is playing the Dr. Nate character, and he is absolutely incredible. I mean, we know Idris Elba is a really great action hero, and he does not disappoint in this movie, as he is super brave. He really is the perfect person that you would want with you in this kind of a scenario. A really loving father, a really caring friend as well, and super brave in terms of going out even though he knows there's a ferocious lion out there. But sometimes he needs to get certain things, he needs to save certain people, and he's just so good in terms of plucking up the courage and just handling all of the intense situations in terms of how he's going to crawl in the shadows, and just being able to be really clever and trying to outsmart the lion as well. I feel like it's really brilliant how this character is thinking about certain things as well, and his past means that he's a medical expert, which is really convenient, but he does know how to treat certain wounds and the advice to give people when they have damaged themselves. And all of the battle scenarios with the Dr. Nate character against this unstoppable lion is just really wicked. And I also love the emotional aspects that Idris Elba was bringing in this movie as well. For example, a guy whose relationship has fallen apart, and the regret that he inevitably would feel about this, and just the way in which he's dealing with the scenario with his daughters, the tricky relationship that they have in terms of the daughter sometimes blaming Idris Elba's character, really is really, really wicked. And Idris Elba is such a phenomenal actor and just brings it in so many different ways in this movie. Next up we have Sharlto Copley, who's playing a character called Martin, who was Dr. Nate's friend from back in the day. And I feel like, he is a really, really great friend. He's really paternal to Dr. Nate's daughters. But I just feel like they could have done so much more with this character. I was thinking that they would have gone down a very different road with this character, especially when he's on the phone with Idris Elba's character, but they don't really materialize in the way that I would have thought that they would have done. Speaking of Dr. Nate's daughters, we've got Meredith and Nora, and they are really, really good in this movie. And firstly, you really do believe the fact that they are stuck in the middle of nowhere with this insane lion just out for revenge. So you really believe all of the terror moments that they have to go through. And I feel like they're really, really great young actresses as well. As like I said, you really do believe them. They don't overact and they work with Idris Elba's character really, really well. And on that point, from an emotional point of view as well, you can understand their heartache and their heartbreak from the death of their mother as well. And they are also really quick thinkers as well. So you can see that they've learned a lot from their father. There are some other darker group of human characters which I feel like are really great in this film as well. And even though he isn't really a speaking character, I feel like the lion is just really, really unstoppable. He just wants to wipe out everybody in this vicinity and is just able to cause such chaos and carnage as well. And so from a casting character's point of view, I have to say they do a really, really good job in Beast. So from a visuals point of view, Beast does not disappoint. When I was going into this movie, I was like, okay, they're going to overdo the CGI and green screen and all this sort of stuff. But actually, it looks really, really believable, really, really realistic. Like I said, the cinematography is on another level, especially the fact that they were able to film certain scenes. And it just feels that they don't stop the camera. It literally is the scene just going on, and everybody is just reacting in one take on such a brilliant big scale. It's just so, so good from a cinematography point of view. And during the day, it's really, really terrifying. But then when it gets to nighttime, it just goes on another level, which you really do feel for all of the different characters and the insane scenario that they're in. It does feel really, really realistic. And even though there is a massive land that they're all in, it feels really claustrophobic at the same time, as the lion is able to demand and conquer all of this land for himself. And so there are a number of scenes when people are just stuck in a car and you can really feel how claustrophobic it is. And I just love how a lot of characters, their basic survival instincts just kick in and you can really feel that. And on that point, I think it's really, really interesting, as a lot of people say, your animal instincts, the way in which you react to certain scenarios in the real world, you need to manage it from a mental health point of view. But actually, when you really are up against a lion or a bear or anything like that, then it really is really, really vital and really, really valuable. So I feel like they look at that from a different perspective really, really nicely. And even though they do touch on the darkness that humans can cause, I would have loved that aspect to have been looked at a little bit more, as you do see really positive humans in terms of Idris Elba and his family and his friend as well. But I would have just loved to see what would certain humans do in this situation in terms of really fending for themselves and only really caring for themselves and betraying other characters. I feel like that could have been a really interesting angle, but at least what they do in this movie from a visuals perspective looks really, really wicked. So from a comparisons perspective, of course, this movie's premise is really, really unique, but I feel like, from a survival horror thriller point of view, there are a lot of other movies as well. For example, The Hunt, Bird Box, Don't Breathe, Jungle, Crawl, The Mist, Alone. And another one that I really want to compare it to is The Lion King, which of course does look at lions, but I feel like that movie and a lot of other movies as well, mainly because of animation, but also in live action as well, they look at lions as being really cuddly and being really happy and lovely characters, whereas this movie really does show how ferocious and how truly animalistic and barbaric a lion can be. There's even one character that calls it the devil as well. So I feel like, it really does depict certain wild animals in a really, really good way. And so from a comparisons perspective, even though there are a number of other survival thriller movies, I feel like the way in which this one is executed is really, really individual, but it does mean that it does sit in good company. So overall, I really, really enjoyed Beast. I didn't know what to expect when going into it, and they definitely could have improved the family drama in the first act and had a couple more jump scares in the second and third act. But I feel like, when you do get to the second act, it definitely does keep you on the edge of your seat, as it's just racing through all of these adrenaline-fueled scenarios. And the final few moments of this movie are just absolutely epic. And I feel like, it has got a very straightforward and single premise, and it does execute it really, really well. And so for all of those reasons, I'm going to give Beast a solid 7 out of 10. Now I'd love to hear what you thought of this film, so please let me know in the comment section below. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in my next video.